we thank Rudy Vallejo from Junior's Restaurant, who fed us breakfast, who fed us lunch, and who didn't promise to feed us dinner. But we thank Rudy for his great hospitality. He actually sold his restaurant on April 1st to Dave Smith, and he came back to make all of us feel home again. So we thank Rudy for his generosity, his hospitality, and his goodness. He's fed this community of Coraopolis very well. And for the 57 couples who came who didn't know how to get to Coraopolis, thank God for the GPS, huh? And then you couldn't get in the bridge, and now you go home. I hope you find your way home, huh? But it's been a joy to have you, and we're graced by your youthfulness and your enthusiasm and your faith. And our faith community here at St. Joseph's prays as you go forth, that you will be a blessing to the world, and that through your love that you have come to know and prayed about in each other, that you will share that generously with the world in your vocation of marriage. As you remember, last Saturday when there was a wedding here at St. Joseph, and it was raining cats and dogs. And people were taking pictures, as they normally do after the wedding, and people were coming into church, and people were going out of church, and we were crossing paths. And a lady was coming with her friend up the steps here, and was trying to get her umbrella down, and fell backwards and went down all the way up the steps. And it was very tragic and very sudden. So all the joy of the wedding seemed to be evaporated by the scene that had happened. I received a note, thank you, this week from the family. And this is what it writes. We would like to express our deepest thank you to all who helped our mother, Edith Pondo, who had a horrible fall before the 4 p.m. Saturday Mass outside of your church. The quick thinking of all who helped her, from phone calls to keeping her dry with a blanket and warm until the ambulance arrived, was wonderful. It's nice to know that there are still kind and caring people in this world. She was very lucky. Things could have been a lot worse. God truly was watching over her in you. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts. The family of Edith Pondo. Peter just healed a man in the temple of Jerusalem. And Peter says, no big deal. If we have to account for a good deed done to a cripple, it's not worth doing in the first place. Goodness comes from God's generosity of His grace that impels us, convicts us to reach out to others. In a world today that is so depersonalized, dehumanized, where everybody's just a number, just a case, just a diagnosis, and we don't treat people with kid glove care, where they know personally and feel a personal encounter and a personal name. Oftentimes in the sea of humanity, we go through life nameless, faceless, because the world stream is so fast and so swift of its current. But sometimes the Lord needs us to slow down so we can hear the voice of the shepherd in our lives. The word pastor in Latin means shepherd, one who cares for the flock entrusted to his care. There's a bulletin insert that has 6 popes, the long reigning popes of the 265 popes. And you know Pope Benedict recently turned 85. The longest reigning pope was Pope Leo XIII, who was 93 years old and 140 days. Can you imagine being the Holy Father at 93, huh? I know I feel at 50. Come on, huh? 93, being the universal shepherd of the whole church. And then we have the bishops of our church who guide us as a diocese. And then we have the pastors, the 12 pastors of our parish in 121 years of St. Joseph Parish. We have those 12 shepherds to preach the gospel of Jesus Christ, to gather the family of God as one flock, to hear one voice and follow that one call. But we know, friends, in our world today, there's so much that can drown out the voice of Jesus. That are vying for our minds and our hearts in the directions in which our lives are going. And we can get into rough terrain where things go through thickets and it challenges us, and we can stray and we can soil and we can become wounded and we can become weak. And so we come back to hear the call again of God through His Word and through the sacraments to strengthen us to be the disciples His grace calls us to be, so that we can be the embodiment of love to others and concern for others, to care for their well-being. In 1990, a priest friend of mine, he ran a program for priests at Seton Hall University in South Orange, New Jersey. He was a towering man. His name was Monsignor Andy Kuzak. He was a priest of the Diocese of Bridgeport, Connecticut. He's been my model priest my whole life. And he died a few years ago at the age of 71. He was a real man's man. Irish to the core, good looking, had an aura about him, had a winning way with people. And he would gather priests internationally from all around the globe to come to Seton Hall to get new roadmaps, so that our vocations wouldn't peter out, and we wouldn't be tired or burned out or overwhelmed and just quit on the call of God. And he wanted to make sure that priests were fed and nourished and strengthened. And he got the best speakers from around the world in. You had to pay a premium price to go there, but it was worth it. Well, in 1999, he had this convocation of priests in Killarney, Ireland. And he was begging me to go there. And I kept looking at the price tag. I'm thinking, I'm not so sure. And he said, Brother Rich, I already got it taken care of. I've already paid the price. It's free. You cannot not go. So I get to Ireland. If you've been to Ireland, you know the beauty of the landscape there, the terrain and the pastures. You know that you celebrate 4 seasons in one day. I mean, it got dark about midnight. You had so much light and you had so much rain. You had to have your rain gear. You had to have your winter gear. You had to have your sunscreen. You had to have it all ready for any day there in Ireland. But what fascinated me was the sheep and the shepherds. There weren't barbed wires. There weren't fences like we see today. And they just went everywhere. They just went across the roads. And they went anywhere. And wherever the shepherd, and there's this whistle that he would blow through imprinting, and they would all hear that call, and they would follow the shepherd. But when it got to nighttime, the shepherd slept with the sheep. It was like a tent there. And I said, he sleeps day and night out here? He knows all these sheep by name. He knows their strengths and their weaknesses, their good points and their craziness. And they said, oh yeah, a good shepherd never leaves the flock unattended. He doesn't want anyone to harm them, steal them, or leave them for dead. And I looked and I talked to this shepherd and I said, you know, can I get your picture? And I shook his hand, and his hand was weathered from years out being a shepherd. And I said, I've been blessed to meet you today in your land of Ireland. I had never met a shepherd firsthand, and shaking his hand. But I'm grateful for your flock. And I'm glad that you care for them so very well. The last 6 weeks of my life, there's been a black cloud over it, because when I turned 50, I had to take some tests. And I went from a colonoscopy to a CAT scan to an MRI to this Tuesday, I go under the knife of surgery at Sewickley Valley Hospital. But I'm grateful that they found this cyst that they have to remove, and that I'll be in the hospital 3 to 5 days. And one of the couples said to me today, who was a presenting couple, said, "Father, you're certainly going to tell your flock about the news. And you're going to certainly tell them about praying for you." And I said, "Thanks for that insight." I said, "Because I'll miss them. And I thank you for being the flock entrusted in my care. I thank you for your faith that inspires me to serve God more faithfully and joyfully. And I thank you for your goodness, that as you had to accept me as your shepherd, with weaknesses and imperfections and flaws and idiosyncrasies and my soiled, sinful humanity, so that I could proclaim in this part of God's kingdom His message. I am humbly and graciously grateful. And as I'll be away for the next few weeks, I would ask that the priest can fill in for me, that you would have that same hospitality and welcome and joy as they come in while I'm away. One of my great friends in life, she's a sister who lives in Chardon, Ohio. As you'll remember, that's where the most recent high school tragedy took place. I've been waiting for her book, her latest book, to arrive. I have 13 of her books. Her name is Sister Melanie Svoboda. In Czechoslovakia, it means peace. And I've been waiting for this book and waiting for this book and waiting for this book. And after I saw the surgeon and went through all the pre-op, the EKG, chest x-rays, blood work and all that, then this arrived in the mail. And I said, "Lord, thanks for the silver lining." And I must be honest, I started to take a peek at some of her wisdom in this new book. And I thought I would close with this poem that she wrote, entitled, "No Matter What." It's for the couples who are getting married, and it's for everybody in this church, because it anointed me. No matter what, no matter how far you stray, God will find you. No matter how deep your anguish, God will comfort you. No matter how serious your illness, God will heal you. No matter how grave your sin, God will forgive you. No matter how low you've fallen, God will raise you up. No matter how weak you are, God will give you strength. No matter how stubborn your will, God will urge you forward. No matter how cold your heart, God will warm you. And no matter what, God will keep on loving you as His own.